Hi, welcome to the second module of Fundamentals of MS Excel. In this particular module, we'll have three sessions. The first one will concentrate on worksheet operations, like working with multiple workbooks, moving, copying worksheets from one file to another, inserting, deleting rows, clearing contents, hiding, unhiding columns and tabs. In the second session, we'll discuss cells and ranges. We'll introduce ranges and we'll also discuss a go-to functionality which can be used to identify specific cells in an Excel file. The third session of this module will focus on tables and the benefits of tables with respect to an ordinary data set. Now, when you are working on Excel, it's not always necessary that all of your data will be stored in one Excel file. So you might have to open two or three or maybe more Excel files. Over here, I'll discuss some of the easiest ways by which you can move from one Excel file to another. Now, the first way is if you're using a mouse, go to the toolbar and look at the different Excel files which are open and then select the file which you want. So let's say I want to select all courses. Now, the second way is if you're not using your mouse, then you can use your keyboard and press on Control key and then the Tab key, and you can alternate across the various files you have opened. The third option is that you go to the view group and over here go to switch windows. You can see all the different Excel files which are open and you can select module 1 toolbars, then another file opens. What if I select book 2? Another file opens. What if I select all courses 1? My first file gets open now. Now, if you want to close a file, you can either go to the file group and then click on close, or you can just press the cross button over here. Now, if the file is not saved on a system, then the Excel will always prompt you to save or don't save, depending upon whether you need it or not. You can click on save. Because I don't need this file right now, and just click on don't save. Now, working with multiple workbooks at the same point of time is fine, and we've just discussed three ways by which you can move from one Excel file to another. But what if I want to look at all these workbooks at the same point of time on my screen? For that, I will go to View Group and I will click on Arrange All. If I click on Tiled, it will give me all the Excel files which are open and it will divide them into different tiles. To escape from this view, just you'll have to go to each of these files one by one and click on Maximize next to the cross button over here. There are other options also. Let's look at one more option. Let's look at the vertical option. It divides the screen and puts them all vertical. Now let's say I've got this graph over here based on the employees data, and this is in the file all courses, and I want to move it to the file module 1 toolbar which has that data. So what I'll do is I'll go to all courses, I'll go to the sheet which consists this graph, I'll do a right click and I'll click on move, and over here I'll get an option to which book. Do I want to move it to module 1 which consists of the employee data? Do I want to move it to the third Excel file which is currently open, or do I want to move it to a completely new Excel file? Let's say I click on module 1 toolbar, and let's say I want to keep a copy of this particular tab in this file also. So I'll click on create a copy. As you can see, the tab has moved to the file which consists of the employee data. And you can still see that the sheet which consists of the chart is still there in all courses 1. If while moving the tab, if I hadn't clicked on create a copy, then the tab would not have been in the all courses 1 file. Now, doing a right click, we had discussed some of the options like insert, delete, rename in the first module. Now let's look at hide and unhide. So as the name suggests, hide, if I click on hide, it will hide this particular tab. Similarly, if I click on unhide, it will give me the list of all the tabs which I have hidden in this particular file, and clicking on say sheet 2, it will open the tab which I had hidden. Now in the previous module, we had also discussed about inserting and deleting columns or rows using the delete and insert commands on the home group. You can do the same functionalities using your mouse also. So supposedly I want to insert a column before B. So I select this column B, I do a right click of my mouse and I click on insert. It will insert a column before B. And if I want to delete this column, I click on the column, I select that column, do a right click and then click on delete. Similarly, I can insert a row. Let's say I want to insert a row before employee D. I select the entire row, do a right click, click on insert, and a row gets inserted. I can now delete this also by just selecting the entire row and clicking on delete. If I do a right click of my mouse over the rows or columns, I get the following menu. We've already looked at the cut, copy, paste options and insert and delete we've just discussed. If I do a clear content, it will not delete the column or the row, but it will just clear the contents. If I do a undo or a control Z just to show it again. So right now I've got in row 8 G and $1,200 by selecting this row, doing a right click, clear contents. The contents get deleted. The row does not get deleted. If the row would have got deleted, H, I, J, K, L, all they would have shifted one row above. So let's do a control Z again. Now let's do a right click and look at the other options. Row height. Right now it is 15. Let's see what happens if we change it to 10. The row height reduces. And what if it is kept at 100? It increases. So you can play around with the row height. Similarly, you can play around with the column width as well. Currently the width is 8.43. Let's say if I want to increase it to 12, it just broadens a bit. Again, let's do a right click. Hide and unhide options are very similar to what we had just looked at for the tabs. So let's say I want to hide the information for these three employees. I select these rows, I do a right click and select hide. So I can see over here that there is a gap after the 5th row and before the 9th row. If I want to unhide them, I select row 5 and 9, do a right click and unhide. Similarly, I can do the same operation on a column as well. Hide, hide it, and if I want to unhide it, then I unhide it. Now, when we'll move on to the next video, we'll discuss about cells and ranges. I've also given some exercises for you to practice so that you get more comfortable with this. Thank you. Hi, welcome back. Now in this session, we'll discuss what are ranges. And the second thing is we'll discuss a command go to special, which is in the home group. This particular command is used to identify specific cells. So if your cells have formula and you want to identify all such cells in an Excel file, then you can use go to special. If it has some comments inserted and you want to identify all the cells which have comments inserted, then you can use this. So, right, first of all, what is a range? A range is basically a group of cells. So this can be a range. Even this can be a range. This entire thing can be a range. When all the cells are together, it's called as a contiguous range. But when the cells are not together, then it's called as a non-contiguous range. So if I've got this cell, I've got this cell, I've got this, and this. If this is my data, then this is a non-contiguous range. But if all of my cells are together, it's a contiguous range. Now, usually when we want to move data from one cell to another, we do a cut and paste. So if I want to move data from G2 to I2, I will go to G2, I will do a cut, I will go to I2 and I will do a paste. Let's do an Control Z now. But what if I don't want to do a cut? I can similarly go to this particular cell, and right now you can see that there are arrows, black arrows, which you can see. Select the cell by just doing a left click and then drag it over to I2. This is how also you can move your cells. Similarly, you can move an entire range also. Let's do a undo again. Let's say I want to move this group of cells from here to here. So I'll just select the entire thing. I'll go over it at the corner of it so that the black arrows appear. Do my left click and then just drag the entire thing with the left click pressed. And then just let go of the left click and you can see that you've been able to move your cells. Now, before we move on to the go to command, we'll discuss find options and we'll discuss the replace option. Now, supposedly I want to find a particular name. Uh, I've got around 50 employees over here and I want to search for one particular name. Let's go to find and select and I click on find. Let's say I want to search if there is any Ben in the list. So I write the name and I click on find next. So because there was no Ben in this list, Excel says we couldn't find what you were looking for. Let's click on OK. Let's look for some other name. Let's look for Nia. Find next. Excel immediately takes me to cell A6 where Nia is present. Let's look at options. Now over here, what Excel is telling me is that where do I want to find Nia? Do I want to find Nia in this particular Excel file only, in this particular tab only? If I select the entire workbook, Excel will look for Nia in the entire workbook. Let's see if we've got Nia. We've got one more Nia over here in the email address. We've got Nia in another data set. So we've got 3 or 4 different tabs where Nia is present. But if I just select worksheet, Excel will only give me these addresses. Excel will not take the cursor to other data sets where Nia is present. Okay. Now supposedly while entering data, I mistakenly entered Ken instead of Ben. So what I can do is, first of all, I need to find out if there is any Ken. Yes, so Ken is here. Luckily, we've got just 2 instances where Ken is appearing. But what if we had huge data set and Ken was appearing say 50 times? You will not go to each of these cells manually and change Ken to Ben. So for that, again we go to find and select. We click on replace. Now over here, I want to replace Ken with Ben, but only in this worksheet. I don't want it to be done in the entire workbook. And I click on find next. So yeah, right now it is giving me 2 appearances. Let's use replace all. Excel gives me a prompt all done. We made 2 replacements. And I just do a close. So this is how you can use the find and replace commands. Now let's look at the go to special. At times you would want to identify all the cells, say which have comments in them. So rather than going through the whole data set on your own, you would go to special and click on comments and then just do an OK. So what Excel will automatically do is Excel will automatically highlight all the cells which have a comment present in them. Let's look at other functionalities. So if I want to find out constants, by constants I mean values which do not change, which are not formula based. So Excel basically highlights the entire dataset because this is a constant apart from 2 which are formula driven. Let's look at the other options. Let's say I want to identify the cells which have formulas in them now. Now Excel is highlighting only those 2 cells which have a formula in them. So these were some of the uses of the go-to command. In a way, it helps you in quickly identifying whether there are formulas, and if there are formulas, then which all cells have those formulas, rather than searching them manually. So when we move on to the next video, we'll discuss what are tables, and we'll also discuss the advantages of a table over a dataset. Thank you. Hi, welcome back. Now in this particular session, we'll discuss what is a table and what are the advantages of declaring a dataset a table over a normal dataset. A table in simple terms is a group of data. So over here, it's a list of employees with their salaries and other details in front of them. It may also be a list of items in the stock at a supermarket and their quantities and prices mentioned. Now, for letting Excel know that your data set is a table, all you need to do is you need to go to that data set and you need to click on table. Now, before I do that, let me just make a copy of this data so that we can compare it with the normal data set, whatever we are doing over here. Okay, right. So I've got a list of 50 employees. I've got their names, surnames, their IDs, gender, email address, and salary. Now I want to declare the first dataset as table. So I go to insert, I click on table. It gives me a prompt, where is the data for your table? And right now the range which it has identified is of this. So it is from A1, B1, and I'm selecting it, and I go all the way down till row 51. And because my first row has column names, so that is why this will remain as a checked box. My table has headers. So then I click on OK. Now as I scroll up, immediately the first thing which you will notice is that the format of the tables has changed. And Excel has automatically given filters over here. Now let's look at the first benefit. What you may have noticed over here is that we had the home, insert, page layout, formulas, data, review and view groups, but the design group is new. This was not there in the earlier examples which we have done, because this is a conceptual tab which gets created whenever we use a tab or a pivot. So when I go on design, it gives me a ready-made table style. So there are different designs which I can use. You can see the colors changing as you move from one design to another. Let's say I want to select this design. So this is one of the benefits, that you don't need to format your dataset on your own. Over here in the normal dataset, there is no such design tab available. So I'll have to format the dataset on my own. Now let's say if I want to populate a formula, this is the annual salary. I want to divide it by the number of months per month. And as you clicked on per month, so basically you added an additional column. So it is very simple for you to change the table structure. Now, as you write a formula, all you need to do is, for calling a formula, you need to write equal to, you've got the salary over here, and you need to divide it by the number of months. As you can see, it automatically gets populated. But whereas in a normal data set, when you try and doing that, let's start off with adding an additional column. There is no change to the data structure as such. So is equal to this divided by 12. So one thing is that there is no automatic population of the entire data set over here. So you will have to manually copy and paste this formula for all of the 50 observations. So you'll have to do a control C, go all the way down, and then select all the way up and then paste. Whereas over here it got automatically populated. So this is another advantage of having a table as compared to a data set. Okay, now let's go to the very end of this table and we click on total row. A new row gets added. Over here, this is right now giving me the sum of all the per month salaries. But what if I want to calculate the average? So basically this tells me the average salary across these 50 employees. At the same point of time, let's look at the overall salary, and let's look at the average yearly salary. So this is 4581. So basically Excel is automatically giving you that option of calculating multiple variables. Over here, if I need to do that in a normal data set, I'll have to write the function on my own. So I'll have to call the average function, and then I'll have to select the entire data set. Though the results would be the same, but just that over here Excel is giving you that option. You can calculate other things also. You can count the number of observations. You can identify the maximum salary, minimum salary, standard deviation, variation, and you can call other functions as well. Now, as you have scrolled down, one thing you may not have noticed is that the column names over here, which were supposed to be A, B, C, D, E, F, G, they have now changed to the column headers which were there. So employee first name, surname, employee ID, gender. Whereas over here, that is not the case. When you click on first column, just notice the difference over here. So you don't need to highlight things on your own. Last column, then you can do a remove duplicate from here in the design tab itself. Now after this particular video, you'll have some exercises and documents to go through. Please do go through them, and please feel free to reach out to us. Thanks.